name's JP Rodriguez. Everybody calls me JP. I am the City Council member for District 3 in the city of Weslaco. I was a young father. Me and my wife were teenage parents, and we needed to support our family, so I took on a job. I was a music major at the time, and I took on a job as a police dispatcher in 1997. And it's one of the best decisions that I made for my family, for my country, for my community. It really gave me the opportunity to live the American dream, and then to, in the future, serve in different capacities like I do now as a city council member. I started in dispatch, and at the time I had a different perspective of what the law enforcement officer was at that time. And it wasn't a good one. My perspective was based on what I would hear, what I saw on the news, what I saw, how Hollywood portrayed law enforcement. So I went into that job as a police dispatcher with that mindset. And then I started riding around with some of those men and women during their lunch hour, during my lunch hour. And it really changed my perspective. I really understood that the vast majority of cops out there are good men and women doing what they need to do, going above and beyond to protect their communities and to protect my family at the time, because I wasn't a police officer. But it really changed me inside, and it really got me to respect the profession at that point. I developed a lot of great mentors at the time, and I never forget some of those conversations. Some of them were, hey, you want to make a better life for your family? This is the opportunity. Take the civil service test. Take the entry-level test, and just see how you do. I took the test. I scored top 3, and the city sponsored me as a police cadet. They sent me to the police academy, which is great. It was fantastic. I started off making $8 an hour as a patrol officer, and I thought I was, it was good at the time for my family. My wife also got a job with the city of Weslaco as a clerk with Public Works. So we saw each other every day, and I started growing in my career in law enforcement, started applying for CID, crime prevention. I started exercising. I tried out for the SWAT team. I was in the SWAT team 8 years. And so this was my first agency. And then I applied for a job with the HIDTA task force with Hidalgo County District Attorney's Office. So I was on a drug task force for about 2 years, and I was just oblivious to the fact that how many drugs were coming into the United States through the U.S.-Mexico border, right? I did that for about 2 years, and then I applied for a job I came back to Weslaco for a short stint, and then I applied with Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office, which is one of the largest counties in the state. During the time when I came on to Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office was when they were transitioning from a really tough time for an agency that was dealing with corruption. The sheriff at the time also got arrested on federal charges. And so that was a difficult transition, but it was also a good experience for me because I got to be a part of changing the dynamic, changing that agency from what it was. I was a part of that. I got assigned as the public information officer for the Hidalgo County Sheriff's Office under Sheriff Eddie Guerra. And I continued to work full-time for the Sheriff's Office until I got a job offer with Texas Municipal Police Association, which is the dream job. I tell a lot of my friends and family, I'm no longer exposed directly to the danger, but I'm still in the game, right? I still get to help the men and women that are still out there serving and protecting our communities. That same year, 2017, I had this crazy idea because I was involved in local association leadership. And I had this crazy idea to run for office. And I didn't expect to win, I really didn't. But I kind of got tired of some of the stuff I was seeing. I got tired of some of the corruption. And my grandmother always told me to get involved in politics. She always said that if the good people don't get involved, then the wrong ones always will. And she would tell me in Spanish. And it kind of stuck with me, and I had a lot of great mentors and a lot of support. So I said, what the hell, let's run. I had a family meeting with my wife and my daughters and my parents and some aunts and uncles, and we prayed about it. We asked our pastor for guidance, and we made a decision to run, win or lose. But I really, deep down inside, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have an expectation to win. Most of my campaign was self-funded, and most of my team was family. But we just ran an organic campaign, door to door. I think it kind of helped that they recognized me from the crime reporting I did for the sheriff's office. But I ran for office in 17, I won. I think if I remember correctly, I got about 53% of the vote, somewhere. It wasn't by much, but I really wanted to make it. I had my short-term and long-term goals, and one of them was to make sure that our elected body is supporting our first responders. And so a lot of good things have happened for first responders in the last 5 years or so, 4 years or so. We've been able to build them a new police department. We've been able to build our firefighters 2 new firehouses. We've also been able to give them significant base salary increases. But you can never pay those guys enough, right? They deserve so much more. The challenge is as an elected official now is to make sure there's balance on managing our finances, right? But it's just been an interesting journey, and then working right now for TMPA is just, I think it's a big part of what I believe defines me in helping others. I'm a firm believer that if you want your community to change, you have to volunteer and get involved, and that's the true catalyst for positive change. I'm on the security team at my church. I'm the vice president of our Weslaco Crime Stoppers organization. I'm in the Elks Lodge. I'm on the city council. At home, which is the most important thing, God and family. I've been with my wife for 31 years now, and she was my high school sweetheart. I've got 3 daughters. 2 are adults. One's a teenager who thinks she knows everything. So you deal with that dynamic in the house, and I think you realize you have to stay connected to your community in order to make sure that good things are happening. It's been an interesting journey. I mean, I'm really grateful to God for all the opportunities. I brag all the time wherever I go as an elected official. I brag about living the American dream, because I really believe that. I sincerely believe that I've lived the American dream, and I talk to my daughters about that all the time. I tell them we live in the greatest country on earth, without a doubt. I said, and if you don't believe me, if you have an opportunity as an adult, go venture off and visit some of these other countries and see some of the challenges that they have to deal with. Where they can't even dress a certain way without being persecuted, or they can't pray a certain way, or they can't have a certain belief or a certain lifestyle. I'm really proud of, I don't believe I'm better than anyone. I'm proud of the fact that I was able to work my ass off and be a part of this American dream and try to instill that in my children. We're very proud of our daughters. My oldest is a teacher assistant. My middle daughter just completed her certification to become an elementary teacher. And my youngest daughter wants to be a music teacher, because we're all musicians at some point. My wife, I was a music major. My oldest daughter, all 3 of them played the flute in band at some point. So it's been an interesting journey, and it's not done. I don't know where the future is going to take me. I'd like to continue serving, either as a city councilman or in different capacities. I'll always lean on God to guide me and to give me the wisdom and the strength, because it gets tough. It really wears on you some weeks, because you want to try to help as many people as you can, and you want to try to address as many issues as you can, but being in elected office, you kind of see that things are so polarized sometimes, and it's hard to bring people together and to address the real issues. I'm a registered Democrat. That's probably going to change in the very near future. I have friends on both sides. I have one of my best friends is a libertarian, and he reminds me like every week. he said, I'm trying to get you to switch to our, and I said, look, I have to do what I have a personal conviction for, and what I believe is in the best interest of the people that I serve. But I also believe that we should be trying to bring people together, right? Consensus building, and also just trying to truthfully and honestly address the issues, not the narratives, not what somebody's getting paid to push an agenda, or come together and address the issues honestly and truthfully. And you can find common ground if you make an effort. That's kind of how I have served at the local level. I don't always agree with everybody that I sit up there with, but I make an sometimes extraordinary effort to meet them halfway and understand their perspective. And that's how it's supposed to be, just like I expect the same courtesy and respect from them when I'm trying to explain my side. There's a couple of things that I've been through with my family, and I feel sometimes that certain parties don't represent the best interests of the family unit. And I'm very transparent. I'll share with you a couple of years ago, my youngest daughter she can be very naive sometimes. And I'm not saying that to insult her. Sometimes they get indoctrinated. And so she came home one day, and out of the blue, I heard a conversation coming out of her mouth about the USA was not a good place to live. So I started asking questions because that concerns me. Because here I am preaching that I was able to provide a better life for my family through the American dream, but this younger generation is getting told somewhere along the line that this is a bad country, or it's not a good place to live, or it's not the land of opportunity. And it is. That's why everybody wants to come here. That's why everybody wants to come to America, to the United States of America, to make a better life. Some are coming with malintentions. And that concerns me. But just generally speaking, this is a great place to live. I'm living proof of that. My family is. And so it hurt me so much to hear that coming out of her mouth that I got so upset that I got emotional about it. Because I know the sacrifices I went through as a city cop on a drug task force, chasing members of drug trafficking organizations, and getting beat up, working for the sheriff's office and seeing all the major crimes, that really hurt me on a personal level to hear one of my children saying that the U.S. wasn't a good place to live. And this is years ago. She's changed now. She's matured, just like my other two daughters have. I think as a parent, and going back to talking about the reasoning of why I believe certain parties aren't doing what's in the best interest of American families, and telling the truth, it's taken a lot of work with my personal family on convincing them this is the truth, this is how things really are. And I shouldn't have to do that as a dad, right? I shouldn't have to worry about my children getting indoctrinated by social media, influencers that are getting hired by certain individuals with agendas. So you have to constantly work to counter that. And it's been working. My oldest daughter, who was, I'll describe, she may disagree with me, but I'll say that she was liberal, now is leaning more towards being a conservative. But she also married a Marine, and she's a teacher assistant now. So, and he's a great guy too. I'm really proud of them. And my middle daughter, I think, is going through the same transition. And my youngest is still in high school, so I've really got to do some work with her, and just kind of really just be proactive about it. I'm not. She's entitled to her own opinion. I respect her. I tell my kids, I will respect your political views, but allow me to explain my perspective, understand my perspective on why I feel the way I feel. And it's, my mom always told me there's no book on how to be a good parent. You just have to kind of try your best. A lot of prayers. Never give up as a parent. She said, always give 100%. Always invest time and effort into your children. She said, that's your true legacy. It's not your title. It's not your elected office. It's not how much money you make. Your true legacy is your children. And so I'm still working on that. No, it's not, I'm not done. I'm still here on this earth with as much time as God has given me, and I've got to keep trying my best for my kids. Doesn't matter if they're adults. Trying to make a positive impact in my community and serving. I've talked to a good amount of people about declaring, I guess that it's official, right? I don't know, I have to get sworn in or sign a paper. I've talked to people about it, and I'm not going to be ashamed about it. and I'm not going to apologize for it. I have friends in all different political parties, and that doesn't always define who you are. I think it's what your intentions are. Some I know are going to get upset, and that's okay. I respect that. And I just hope they respect my decision and that they understand it also. And we have to keep moving forward. I can't waste time and energy about people getting upset that I'm trying to do the right thing. The reality is, from my perspective, that's been a city cop, worked on a drug task force, and then worked for one of the largest counties. And now as an elected official also sometimes gets to network with Border Patrol. And I mean, just based on what I do now with TNPA, there's this network. It's a constant network with local, county, state, and federal law enforcement partners. For someone to say there's not a border crisis when you see the opposite, that's not true. Now, I will say this, some of our specific areas along the border are safer than others. This is the scary part. A lot of what's coming through the border is transient. It doesn't stay in some of these local areas. It keeps going further north. And that's something that always scared me, because when I was on the drug task force, we used to always question, we would throw in the scenario, well, yeah, we got, a load of drugs, but this could have very easily been a weapon or something. It could have been something dangerous to an imminent threat. I realized that even as busy as we were, sometimes working 7 days a week, we couldn't keep up with, this was 2010, we couldn't keep up with the drugs that were coming in. We did our best, and we got a bunch of seizures, but we were only we had a small impact. And so my personal opinion is that the border is not safe. Our Border Patrol does the best that they can with the personnel and the resources they have. And I feel for those guys, because I have friends. I know what they go through, and they need help. And they need help, and they need someone to back them up, and they need someone in their corner constantly. And I will always, as an elected official here, I tell them when I see them, it's like, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. I know what you guys are doing. I know how hard it is, but you will always have a friend in Weslaco. I always tell them that. You always have a friend here at City Hall. Don't hesitate to reach out. One of the things as a cop, I worked in crime prevention for several years. Basic crime prevention 101 is barriers, right? I don't understand this narrative that barriers are necessarily bad, or a wall is bad, or that's what we do at our homes. Our windows aren't open, our doors aren't open, our gates aren't open. We live one way, and then some people are preaching another message. As an elected official, we get to sometimes network with a Border Patrol here locally. And one of the concerns I have as an elected official is when they give us stats about OTMs, other than Mexican people of different nationalities that are coming into the U.S. I used to think it was one way, but it's actually a different way. Sometimes there's more OTMs coming in than Mexican nationals. And that's concerning, because the fear is the unknown. Who are they? What are their intentions? I'm not worried about the person that wants to come and make a better life here in the United States of America. I live that. That's the American dream. You want a better life for your family, but you do it the right way, and you do it the honest way. I'm worried about the guy that has the wrong intentions. The guy that's pissed off at our country for political reasons and wants to hurt others. That scares me as an elected official. Just like COVID terrorized us when it first hit, we didn't know I honestly thought the world was going to end. That was my viewpoint, because it was scary. We didn't know what was going on. But also what's scary is somebody coming in and not knowing anything about who they are, their background, what are their skills, are they part of some, group, extremist that hates the U.S. because one of their family members got killed or something, and now they want to take it out on our community here. The unknown is what is always scary. The message I really want to get out to our community is you got to get involved. You got to get involved with your government, with your law enforcement, public safety, EMS, fire. Get involved. Be that catalyst on making your community a better place to live, right? If we can have a super safe environment along the border, but it takes everybody working together. Being vice president of the Crime Stopper program, I always say, hey, if you see something that looks suspicious, call it in. You never know what you might be calling in. It might be something that's about to go down and hurt a lot of people. It might be something, a petty crime that you're calling in or preventing, but we've got to return to a society that cares about each other and takes care of each other. And somewhere along the way, I think that's been lost, and I'm hoping that we can return to that someday. TNPA is the largest police association in Texas. We're proud to be 33,000, or maybe that number's gone up, 33,000 members strong around the state. Individuals in various law enforcement professions are part of our police association, and we provide just a variety of membership services to include assisting them on different issues with regard to administrative issues, if they get sued or critical incidents. The most important thing is that we take care of our members. We do our best to provide a high quality of service to them, lobby for them at the local and the state level, trying to make sure that they're getting paid what they deserve to get paid, trying to make sure that they're not dealing with toxic situations. We want them to stay in the profession as long as possible because they're important. In any government entity, if you don't have a strong base of public safety, specifically law enforcement, everything else will fall apart. That's one thing I've learned as an elected official. And that's one thing I'm proud of that TNPA does, is it takes care of and protects our law enforcement officers in Texas. Go to our website, visit our social media accounts. We've got some great social media accounts. We've got a podcast. I always tell guys, trust but verify. I want you to trust that I'm telling you TNPA is the best, but I'm also going to ask you to verify. Talk to members, get on social media, find out what we're doing. Talk to your local field rep. I'm the local field rep for South Texas and the Rio Grande Valley. So the website's tnpa.org. I encourage anybody that's working in law enforcement, visit the website, visit our social media accounts, find out who we are and what we do, and why we're the best police association in the state of Texas.